This morning I sat on my porch, watching the mist slowly rise from the trees, and a quiet realization settled over me as if it had been waiting for the right moment. I am 80 years old. In a house like this, silence isn't just the absence of sound anymore. It has texture. It has weight. It's not empty space, it's a room full of echoes. The creak of a familiar floorboard. A laugh that used to spill out of the kitchen. A voice calling my name from the hallway, back when someone else was here to call it. Over 8 decades I've watched the world reinvent itself, new machines, new habits, new ways people speak and move and love. But the bigger change wasn't the world outside. It was the people inside my life. My parents. My siblings. Friends who knew me when my hands were younger and my worries were simpler. And the person I believed would be holding my hand until my final second. They're all gone now. At this age, you can start to feel like a shadow in a world that belongs to the young. You watch them rushing through their days, frantic over things that, standing where I'm standing now, look like grains of sand in an endless hourglass. Sometimes they ask me, "What is it like?" Sometimes they look at me with pity, as if outliving everyone you love is only tragedy. But there's a secret about being 80 that no one tells you until you arrive here. When almost everything is stripped away, people, roles, noise, what remains isn't nothing. What remains is truth. My name is Eleanor Brooks, and if you're younger than me, listen carefully. If you're close to my age, come sit beside me a moment. I want to tell you what stays when the house grows quiet and the phone stops ringing. I want to tell you what remains. The first lesson is this: we never truly own anything, or anyone. In my 40s and 50s, I thought my life was defined by what I had built. My work. My home. My reputation. I guarded those things like they were permanent, like they could shield me from time. But at 80, I look at my hands and realize they are empty, and for the first time, that emptiness doesn't feel like failure. It feels like honesty. Homes I once lived in belong to strangers now. The achievements I worked so hard for are barely remembered, and the people who came after me weren't even born when I retired. And yet I'm still here. The important part of me is still here. Because what remains isn't the trophy on a shelf. It isn't the title on a business card. What remains is the character you shaped while chasing those things, the patience, the courage, the discipline, the humility you learned the hard way. And the people we love? They were never property. They were never guaranteed. They are borrowed. We are caretakers of someone's presence for a while. That's all. And when you stop clinging, when you stop trying to keep people, and you start fully experiencing them, grief changes its shape. It still hurts, yes. But it stops feeling like you were robbed and begins to feel like you were fortunate to be trusted with their time. What remains is the love you gave, because love is the one thing that doesn't rot, doesn't break, and doesn't get sold off when someone clears out a house. When you're young, you wait for the big moments. You think life is the wedding, the promotion, the grand vacation, the major scenes. You spend your days staring at the horizon, convinced real life is somewhere ahead. I learned too late that life isn't made mostly of mountaintops. It's made of the path between them. If I could go back, I wouldn't chase more success. I would chase more noticing. I would linger longer over a cup of coffee and actually taste it instead of rushing. I would sit still long enough to hear the birds and let that be enough for 1 minute. I would hold someone's hand an extra beat before letting go, because I didn't understand how rare certain moments were. At the end of a long life, what remains isn't only the big highlights. It's a collection of small, ordinary minutes that look like nothing when they happened, and later reveal themselves as everything. One of the hardest parts of watching people leave is the solitude. My generation was taught to stay busy. Busy was considered responsible, respectable, almost holy. But when the children grew up and friends started passing, I was left face to face with a stranger, myself. Most people spend their lives running from who they are. They use noise, work, screens, and company to drown out their own thoughts. But at 80, you can't outrun anything. Your knees won't let you. Your body insists on stillness. So you sit. And if you can endure that quiet, if you can stay with yourself long enough, something changes. You start building an inner shelter, a kind of internal fortress. If you never made peace with yourself, old age can feel frightening, like being locked in a room with someone you don't know. But if you did make peace, old age becomes a sanctuary. I learned that I am enough. I learned to forgive the woman I was at 25 and at 50. I learned to stop replaying every mistake like a courtroom trial. What remains is a gentle peace with the face in the mirror. You realize, eventually, that you were your own companion all along. You just didn't know how to befriend yourself when you were younger. People ask me if I have regrets. Of course I do. Only a fool, or a liar, claims otherwise. But at this age, I understand the difference between regret and the kind of remorse that lingers like a bruise. I regret risks I didn't take. I regret love I didn't say out loud because pride held it hostage. But the deepest pain comes from the times I wasn't kind. We spend so much energy trying to be right. We argue. We hold grudges. We protect our ego like it's the most valuable thing we own. But as I watch names in my address book slowly disappear, crossed out one by one, I've learned something I wish I understood earlier. Being right is the loneliest victory in the world. Kindness was always the correct answer, no matter what the argument was about. If there is someone you can call today, call them. Not to reopen an old fight. Not to settle a score. Just to say, I'm glad you're here. Because one day they won't be, and none of the old scores will matter. There is also a strange kind of grace in watching the world move forward without you at the center of it. I see teenagers with their devices, their new slang, their fast energy. At first, it can make you feel left behind, like your era has been sealed up and labeled past. Then you realize, it's supposed to happen. The world isn't abandoning you. It's continuing. And that continuation is a kind of miracle. What remains is the role of the witness. I see my grandson's eyes and recognize my father's gaze inside them, like time folding itself into a new shape. I see that I am one small stitch in a very long tapestry. My job now isn't to lead the parade. It's to cheer from the sidewalk and be grateful I got to be here at all. There's freedom in letting go of the need to be important. So what remains when so much is gone? Gratitude. Not polite gratitude. Not the kind you post on a calendar quote. A fierce, aching gratitude for the sheer impossibility of being alive at all. Gratitude that I got to love, even if I lost. Gratitude that I got to witness thousands of mornings and watch light spill across the world again and again. I am 80 years old, and I'm not afraid of the dark the way I used to be. Because I've learned that the light doesn't disappear. It just moves on, into the next room, into the next chapter, into the next generation. If you're listening to this, don't wait until you're 80 to find what remains. Look for it now. It's in the breath you just took. It's in the person across from you. It's in the quiet place inside your chest that still knows how to love. Thank you for sitting with me on this porch for a while. If these words touched you, share them with someone you love. And tell me, what is one thing you've learned to cherish as you've grown older? I read every comment. It makes this house feel a little less quiet.